Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think you all feel welcome by now. So I think in light of efficiencies and the already observed protocol in terms of welcoming, I'll move swiftly along. We've got quite a bumper pack program today, and I would like to allow some room for lots of collaboration discussions to happen. So allow me maybe just to spare a moment in terms of just sharing a little bit of our Haggai heart with you this morning. We have embarked our journey in the skills and training environment about 2 to 3 years ago, where we've realized that we need to create a new type of individual. That is an individual, and this is specifically aimed at our youth, that needs to be looking and thinking about themselves differently. They need to take back their future. They need to realize that they are actually income generating units. We have to break the bonds of social dependency. Currently, sad but true, and especially in the rural areas we're currently working, the practice is just get more babies because then you get more funds. Sad but true. So we need to break that mindset. So how do we do that? By creating a new type of learner, a new type of youth that is ready to embrace the economic environment. So a Haggai learner for us is really a learner that recognizes that I'm an income generating unit. I'm highly teachable and trainable. If I have my skills toolbox handy, together with my cell phone, my technology, data, ideally a vehicle, or if not a vehicle, at least a driver's license, you are an income generating unit. So right from the onset, when we start working with learners, we start breaking open their minds. Currently, we are sitting with a huge challenge in terms of skills development and employment. Currently, we're only focusing on 20% of people going through our skills programs that actually does get employed. What about the 80% bulge? So without further ado, I want to just quickly calibrate on a couple of points. Us as a company over the last year have had to calibrate in terms of change on various aspects. We predominantly focus on the unemployed market and specifically also learnerships. So we had to also calibrate ourselves and say, are we indeed efficient? And what are the paradoxes that currently exist in our environment? So over the weekend, a colleague of mine used the word, what is your personal kilowatt that you are putting out? And I thought, okay, well, first and foremost, I'm not a technical person, so what is kilowatt? So kilowatt specifically is when you measure a certain output and energy. Now, I'm sure my automotive colleagues is also here in the audience somewhere, so I'll be assessed this morning to see whether or not I have been paying attention in the last week. So it's not, if your output is not enough, how can you actually improve that? Now, yeah, thanks to my automotive colleagues, Dr. Google, DIY. So if you don't have enough output, so what do? Somewhere power might be lost within the engine. And I must admit, since the beginning of the year, I've really been looking at skills development dramatically different. In the sense of we get faced with challenges from clients where they say we'd like to do industry development. But yet again, there is not candidates that's got the heart for that industry. So for me, that means that somewhere the power in this engine is getting lost. Maybe we are not firing it up at the right stages. The next DIY tidbit, install a high flow intake system. Okay, yet again, I'm not a technical person, but if I put this back into a skills context, are we really putting enough candidates through the motion so that they can actually then gravitate in time towards a career that is really their heart? We've made the point earlier this morning where we say, do we really love what we do? And that is, I believe the major reason why we've got major fallouts in our skills environments, why we've got learners not pushing through currently with programs, why we don't have absorptions into employment or yet even other learning opportunities. The last point in terms of how to kind of fault find if your kilowatt is not up to speed or up to standard, upgrade your performance exhaust. Now, I think this is a very important calibration point. If an industry environment we are not outputting the right number of candidates for a specific industry, then it specifically means that we need to improve performance. And then we need to go through the fault finding process. So critical for me is how do we improve? And I think this morning I'd like to maybe just leave some questions with you, not necessarily answers. I do believe that that is why the Skills Summit is here. That's so that we can break open a couple of challenges and paradoxes that currently exist in our environment. And that we all can calibrate on those points intensely together so that we can actually create some width and depth with regard to this environment of ours. So just a quick, I always like to calibrate from a personal perspective in terms of what we have found. I'm sure a lot of you can actually agree with me on this. So we had to ask ourselves the question, is learnerships programs really going full circle? Normally goes off to a good start. My question always is candidates joining the dots? I remember I'm from an accounting and auditing background, and I remember I walked in with a degree into an accounting practice, and I just realized on day one, I know absolutely nothing. Of practice, I might know academic information, but I, at that point in time, did not know how to practically apply that. So that definitely remains one of the things I think at the forefront of our skills development challenges. Are candidates really joining the dots? I think the fact that sometimes you have candidates where their heart might not be a certain industry or certain profession also doesn't help the picture. Is there guidance that is readily available when needed? I always found in my auditing environment that all clerks are good until reviewed. Um, so I do believe that that's also true with learners. Unfortunately, do we provide opportunities enough where we can calibrate back to them and say, listen here, this is where you would need course correction on? Very critical. Currently, I'm sitting on a daily basis with clients that's faced with challenges, especially with our economic circumstances as it is. People want to have bang for their buck. Currently, in terms of the skills development environment, there's amazing incentives that are available, and I do want to encourage business owners that are here this morning, please connect with your consultants to make sure that you are optimally structured and that you are following a smart approach in terms of your skills development. The point remains that is these skills developments that we are currently embarking on. And I'm currently looking at investment in skills in basically in three layers. We do need to put through a lot of volume on the unemployment end. Then we need to get them stimulated so that they can gravitate towards specific areas of interest where we can then assist them with a career path. The second part, or the last part, is then if they then go into employment, how do they actually create for business a space where they can impact the top line and the bottom line of a business? That for me is the ultimate test whether or not skills development has really done what it needs to do. Then the most critical part, and we've already addressed that, is the desired absorption at the end. Is this learner stepping up into an employment opportunity, or are they extending their career possibilities even further? Secondary challenges, and I think this is just making the point again, where are we actually integrating practice with academic? And I think that currently for me is the biggest challenge. So we critically need to ask ourselves what needs to be the glue. At the end of the day, we need to get people into qualifications. But first and foremost, it needs to be their hearts. I have found that we work with candidates coming from rural areas. A big challenge for them is to be emotionally resilient in terms of this environment. We also have to acknowledge that a lot of our learners coming from these environments struggle because they are the heads of homes. They need to look after siblings. They need to take care of the elderly, etc. All these things are stresses that has an impact on our skills environment. At the end of the day, change is very, very important. We need to break open people's minds in terms of, first and foremost, I need to be able to change myself before I can change my environment. I want to quickly just come back to my kilowatt discussion that I basically started off with and say, currently, I believe that our greatest paradoxes and challenges in the skills environment can be summed up in a couple of bullet points. One being, currently in a city environment, we sit with centralized versus a decentralized business concentration. We've got an exit in the rural areas of business and people at the moment, and we're leaving youth destitute without father and mother figures to actually look up to. So this is creating a social challenge. The next one, and the next couple of days, we will be discussing technology, Industry 4.0, and then also that against labor intensive practices. So, what I'm suggesting is we don't need to go to the extreme. For us, it is important as skills developers to make sure that we strike a balance so that we can tick the boxes in terms of these crevices that we currently have and these paradoxes. Very often, when we look at economic development to assist learners with business development, we find that we work in regions with extreme statistics in terms of differentials, high and low income regions. Then also we've sit with a paradox. Industry is specifically chasing certain critical and scarce skills, but yet it's not rendering successful candidates that actually remains in that area and step up. Then we've already discussed employability. I think we're missing the boat. If we get learners through a program and we get them 20% absorbed into a business, into an employment opportunity, we have only done 20% of the work. What about the 80% bulge that is still not unemployed? And that's why this year is a big year for us in Haggai to break open collaboration with other providers, other institutions that can help us go next level in terms of providing learners with an opportunity to go into business within their specific geographical area. I want to make just a last point. Skills development is like sales. You need to do the numbers. At the end of the day, you need to have 15 leads to actually generate 8 meetings, and then ultimately to have 2 to 3 sales made at the end of the day. That really is also the statistics in the skills development environment. So we need to make sure that we prepare a funnel of candidates that can seep through into being industry-specific experts. But then also we need to provide opportunities to masses so that they can look after themselves, step up into businesses. The one thing that I've learned over about 22 years being in the skills environment is that people are highly teachable and trainable. Gentlemen, and ladies, I do leave you this morning with just a few things to ponder on. There's definitely a couple of things that we need to do differently. One of my latest awarenesses was when we were down in the Western Cape, where we were made aware, in the agri-industry that they are going to go globally competitive by going Industry 4.0. Yet just in the sentence before, it was said that we have got masses that are unemployed. And I think that is what we need to get addressed in the next couple of days. How are we going to strike a perfect balance between being competitive, but also making sure that we lead other people into opportunities and business opportunities so that they can actually look after themselves. Thank you very much.